Kia Kipa, or hi gang. This is our final week before we take our Christmas and New Year's break. So, let's dig in.
Bok, I'm Mandy O. This is Grow, Make, Cook, and welcome to my garden. I grew up in Australia in a permaculture family, but after we got married, Mr. O and I moved here to his home country of Croatia. I am a passionate and hands-on homemaker and gardener, and I love life's simple pleasures. So join me on my journey, and together we can learn to grow, make, and cook.
This is the third week in December, or Prosinac. As you can see, my spindle is in fact finished now, and I'm finally getting to spinning my garden twine, which I've overspun that a little bit, but it's doing a pretty good job. I haven't actually made a bowl for it to sit in, the resting thing, so I'm using just a tea light holder, but it has spun up nicely, and it's definitely making string. What I'm using to spin this string is this. This is the copra fiber that we dried all the way back in spring, and I've started processing it. I've still got more than half of the bundle still just as dried sticks, and so I thought I would show you guys how I'm splitting that and how I'm making that into string. So choose a nice wide piece, something that's going to give you nice long fibers. Then I'm taking my knife and I'm just splitting it so I can open it up. And then once I've got a little split in it, I'm just pulling it apart. Now, the next step is with these open frames to just gently snap the pieces inside so that we can peel away this inner fiber. Because what we want is that lovely stringy stuff on the outside and not this hard fibrous stuff on the inside. A good job to do outside. And there you can see that makes that nice stringy fibrous material. And now that I've got a nice piece of, without very much inner parts, there's a little bit there that hasn't come away, I'm just with the flat of my knife kind of taking off any more of that bulky stuff, and to make it a little bit furry, a little bit frayed, so that I can easily join it with my other thread. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of tucking it in when I spin. Now you don't normally need to do this when you're spinning thread. You don't normally need to kind of work your ends in, but this is not a very grabby thread, so it's not very easy to spin. So there we go, that'll work in now nicely. If you've got something like cotton or wool or any of those kind of sort of rougher fibers, things that are a bit coarse and they grab onto each other, it'll spin up really easy. Whereas this, which doesn't have quite so much grab, because I haven't combed it and carded it and done all of that, because I'm making a really rough string, because I haven't made the fiber really thin, I need to kind of take a little bit more care working my joins in. And then I've just wound that last bit on. Then I've got, so that I've still got some winding on my, so where it still looks like string, sort of, I mean, it's my string, so it's very rough. But on that, back through my hook, and then spin him again. So, and it's just that spinning motion that then gives you the strength and the spin, the twist, I guess, in your string. Rather a lot of effort to go to just for a bit of string, but it is, I don't know, a nice slow process. It's part of that polako slowing down of life. I can see why string used to be worth something though. I love Christmas trees. And I really genuinely believe the more the merrier. So I'm going to try taking some from cuttings. Here we are lucky in that we have a couple of lovely evergreens on our property. One very big one at the front, which needed pruning back because it was overhanging on the driveway and onto the road, and so I've had to cut some of the bits that poked out the most off, which means I have a whole lot of this young material that was cut off that I'm hoping to propagate with. Now, pine trees and conifers and evergreens tend to be very difficult to propagate via cuttings, but this is something that I've always wanted to do, so I'm going to give it a go. The potting compost that I am using for this is very specific. It's very, very loose. So a lot of those evergreens like pine trees and conifers and things like that, spruce, all of those, they like good drainage. So I'm using, if you can see that here, really loose. It's got lots of bigger particles in it, bits of stick, etc. And so this, it's going to mean that it's got good drainage. It's not going to sit and rot. These cuttings, I would expect to take up to a year to root. So we're going to pop them in a sheltered place, out of the way, with a little bit of indirect light. But these cuttings, they're not going to strike quickly. One of the things about evergreen cuttings is that they do everything slowly. They lose water slowly, they take up water slowly, they grow slowly, and they root slowly. So what I'm doing is just filling my tray, and I'm going to do lots. I don't expect that all of these are going to take. I expect to lose most of them. And if I just get a few that take, I'll be happy. So what I'm doing is filling my tray with my very loose compost, just giving it a little tap down just to settle it in a little bit. I'm not compressing it, I'm not pushing it down at all, just giving it a shake and settling it down. Then my helper's going to make a racket. And then what I'm going to do is select a nice straight piece from my off cuttings, something like that I can take right down low at the node. And then I'm going to strip off all of the bottom leaves. So everything that'll go in the soil and everything that'll even touch the soil. They don't like any of these bits below the surface. So take all of that off. And then with my little piece, I'm just going to nick across the bottom a really neat, sharp cut so it's very clean. And then because these are such hard takes, I'm actually using some rooting hormone. So I'm just going to get some of that on there just to help them, because these are going to take a long time to strike, and any little benefit I can give them is probably a very good idea. Now, I'm inserting these into the corner of the pots, just like that, just right in there. And you can see that I have got quite a significant air gap between the leaves and any of the soil, so that there is no soil touching any of those leaves, because that will increase the chances of rot, and it will mean that these little cuttings will not take if it starts to rot. So that top tip for if you're going to try and take cuttings from evergreens. I think that's about all we've got time for this week, so thanks for visiting. I'd like to say a quick Sretan Božić, or Happy Christmas and Nova Godina, a New Year. And then we'll see you in the new year. But if you like what we're doing, please like the video. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe. And if you want notifications, use the bell icon below. And until next year then, do widzenia.